everybody. This is Build Series, and I'm your host, Brittany Jones-Cooper. The black hair industry generates billions of dollars every year. It's lucrative and competitive. During the last decade, Curls has emerged as a leader in the natural hair care industry, thanks to its founder and CEO, Mahisha Dellinger, who launched the company in 2002 and single-handedly built it into $1 million brand. Here to talk about Curls and so much more is Mahisha Dellinger. How you doing?
Thank you. Actually, it's a multi-million-dollar brand.
Multi-million dollars, just for clarification.
For clarification, yes.
I have obviously used your product. I have friends and family who use it. I'm so happy to just be chatting with you because I think when we see an amazing product like this, and we'll talk about some of the different things that you offer, you always want to know, who's the woman? You know, how did she come up with this idea? So I want to just talk about you for a little bit.
Sure.
I know you were born in Sacramento.
Sacramento, California.
So just take me through maybe when you first discovered that hair was something that you were passionate about or that you were like really curious about.
Well, I always had this love affair with my hair, but back then, think about what our options were. I would take my hair down, get water and grease to make my hair curly, but then you would like get this amazing amount of sheen on your face that would melt in a hot summer day, right? But I always loved my curls, and I always embraced them until middle school. And that's when I straightened them, dyed them, fried it. It was a horrible mess, and I decided to go natural again. And that's when my love affair and my decision to create Curls was really born. It was really after being a newly natural mother, looking for natural products, shopping that aisle, not many options. So what do you do when there's an untapped need? Create a solution.
And you were working in corporate America before this, right? You were
Right.
at Intel. So what was that like? Because you really shifted gears.
Yeah. Well, you know, Intel was a great breeding ground for me to train me to be an entrepreneur because there's a lot of discipline that it was required to last there. I was there for 8 years. And to make it and excel at Intel, that means you have what it takes because it's so tough. It's like New York. Yeah. If you can make it in New York, you make it anywhere. That's Intel. But I decided to leave because I really wanted to move up the ladder a lot quicker than I was able to. I felt really pushed aside to some degree and overlooked. I was a stellar employee and an amazing workhorse, but I just had this experience with corporate racism and really changed my mindset about working in corporate after that. It was really devastating for me. I was a young single mother, and knowing that I was on the path of getting terminated was really devastating. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna take control of my financial destiny and figure out something else to do. And my husband reminded me, he was my fiance back then, reminded me, Mahisha, you have all these items from all these different brands under your sink. Why not create something in that space? Aha, good idea. And the next day, I came back to work and started doing my research and found there were other women who were also natural, looking for products, and I decided to create Curls.
And your timing was perfect.
Incredibly.
I mean, 2002 is when you launched, and I could not think of a better time. You were just right ahead of the natural hair moment that we're in.
Correct.
But take me through getting that company started, because I know getting funding and all of that is not always the easiest thing, right?
Correct. So you're right. It was challenging. Okay, so I did have a plan to launch on a much larger scale, and I thought, oh, I have excellent personal credit. I'll be able to get a loan. Absolutely not. Everywhere I went, I got rejected. And so there's studies that talk about it. There are reports and news articles that talk about how people of color are less likely to get a business loan. Yet Donald Trump is like able to get a $6 billion loan after he went bankrupt. It's crazy, right? So I couldn't get a loan. I decided to start smaller than I had planned, and I had to use my own funding, right? So that made me have to really start from my bootstraps. Like I had to really like figure it out on a small scale. But you know, it was a blessing in disguise because I was able to be very diligent with my money, right? I micromanaged it and I was very tight. And I think if I potentially got a loan back then, maybe I would have misused it potentially because my mindset, I was much younger, you know? And so now I've definitely shifted my mindset about how to manage it, and maybe it wouldn't have been good for me back then. But I started small, launched the brand. My first expense was obviously getting my website, my logo done, which this is the newest one, but we have the old one up that they showed earlier. It started with one logo and it has evolved into this newer logo. But then we also, my cosmetic chemist, we had to start with our products, right? So that was the biggest expense for us. And that's kind of how it started. And then I was online on the first day we turned the switch on and I had 8 orders and I was like, woohoo!
And now your
In
products
order.
are in Walmart and Target and Sally's and CVS
yes,
and
yes.
Dwayne Reed.
Right.
So, can you just tell me, like, what was the moment where you could really feel it ramping up, where you're getting to have your product in these huge stores?
You know, the shift was definitely when Linda Sullivan, the Target buyer, gave me my chance. I had pitched every retailer and I got no, 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 no. And then Linda Sullivan, she was a blonde hair, blue eye buyer for ethnic hair care, but she had a smart notion. She said, look, I see my sales are stale because she had a lot of relaxers. I'm gonna ramp this up. I'm gonna shift this. I need to bring some new, fresh blood in here. And so she brought me and 3 other brands 105 store test on an end cap, premium real estate. And she said, if you guys do really well, we'll keep you. If not, we'll send you packing. Well, we all did well together. We went from 100 doors to 300 to 600 to 800 and nationwide. And along the way, she added more brands to fill it out. And then all the other retailers that said no to me started calling me.
And you mentioned, especially growing up, there weren't a lot of options. I mean,
Right.
I used to dislike my natural hair because I was using the wrong shampoo, the wrong conditioner,
Right.
things that weren't catered to me. But I also recently, there was like a lot of studies done about the contents of a lot of the hair care products that I used growing up.
Right.
And them not being safe or having chemicals that were dangerous.
Right.
And so people are now looking for products that can cater to their hair, but also don't have those dangerous toxins.
Right.
So how do you navigate that as the industries continue to evolve and these things are very important to people? How's Curl sort of adapted to that?
That's always my philosophy. I've always had a clean formulation philosophy. I have never formulated with anything harsh or toxic. No sulfates, no silicones, no parabens, artificial oils. Very, very clean line. Organic ingredients, natural ingredients. And for those who are also more concerned about animal byproducts, we have a vegan collection, the green line. So we always evolve with our consumer, but we've always had a very clean formulation policy. But we also really make sure that we bring products with ingredients that have a clinical story to help the hair, not just a collection with a random product just because I think it may smell good. No, it has to have a clinical background to it. So I know it's beneficial. So that's my thing. I don't also like to formulate with overly done ingredients like coconut oil or shea butter. You see that all the time. We come out with ingredients that haven't been formulated with before. So like the blueberry extract, we were new to that. Our green collection.
Let's look at it actually. You mentioned the blueberry line. So
yeah, the blueberry line is our #1 selling collection. It is hot. Like really, first of all, it smells good. So that's the first rule for naturalistas. It has to smell good. Get past the smell test. It has to perform. And it has to have a clinical story, so it has all 3. And then our vitamin, this is a game changer because all vitamins, typically hair growth vitamins, are typically pills. And when you take a liquid form of any vitamin, you absorb 100% into your bloodstream. Capsules, only 20%. So we made sure we brought a different a pill there, an approach and philosophy, so that you can actually see growth.
yeah.
And then we have our green collection, which is our vegan line with sea kelp and bamboo and green tea. It's amazing, delicious, no animal byproducts at all. And then we have our vitamin C, pop and pineapple collection available in Walmart. Yeah, it smells delish. Yeah, so those are some of our top selling collections.
And why was it important for you to have the vitamin C collection? Because again, I think when you're talking about people wanting to feed their bodies, that's really important.
Absolutely, absolutely. Antioxidants, great for repairing hair, great for repairing damage, awesome for hair growth. I mean, vitamin C is good for our hair, our skin, our body.
Yeah. I'm curious too, with all of these options, how do I know what's the best collection for me?
Right. So people go to first like the blueberry collection, but curly girls are product junkies. They like to try new items all the time.
It's so true. If you go in any Black woman's cabinet, I have
Yes.
18 different, and it's I don't know, I just want to try everything.
You try it. So vegan. Okay, so we know this is our vegan curlista. The vegan curlista wants something that she knows that is not going to have anything with animal byproducts in it. But this is all about treatment and not texture. So there's a green tea rinse that will replace your ACV rinse. There's a bamboo protein treatment to straighten your hair, if you want to straighten it. Even curly, straight, braids, it keeps it naturally strong without making it hard. So this is all about protecting and treating the hair, and these are about growth stories and protection stories. And then the blueberry line has everything you could need almost in your entire regimen, from scalp treatments to edge control, oils, gels, leave-ins, hair milks. And so you have almost everything you can need in your regimen.
And you've been doing this since 2002, so I feel like you guys have really, you know the formula, you know what works for you. As we mentioned, though, we're in this natural hair moment, and we see all these brands popping up, and it's so much more competitive now.
Right.
So how do you guys stay kind of versatile and adjust to it? Because there, like we mentioned, there's a lot of different products. We've seen recently with Diva Curls, sometimes the products
Ooh.
can have negative effects on the women. You have to be conscious of those things. Like, how do you
Yes.
sort of make sure you're staying really just versatile?
That was a hard one here. And reading about that Diva Curls, oh, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy what's going on, and I just hope it gets resolved. But for us, everything is about evolving. Either you evolve or you'll dissolve. And that's my philosophy. So as people come in to the fold and new collections and new brands come in, we continue to evolve the company, the brand, our offerings, our story, what we're bringing to the Curlista. It's not just another collection again. We're going to another path now. We're going down a whole nother journey for Curlista. So stay tuned and watch out because, yeah, we have some good things coming. But that's the biggest thing is really evolving and continue keeping up with what is, number one, important for your customer, but number two, some things that she may be missing, and we have to be different. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And, you know, I've heard that saying, if you don't evolve, you dissolve, from you on your show, Mind Your Business with Mahisha, on OWN.
Right.
And I checked out a couple episodes, and I think it's so cool because you're going into the businesses of Black owners and trying to help them out.
Yeah.
So why was that something that was important to you to sort of share the lessons that you've learned?
It's so important. I believe, and my philosophy is to whom much is given, much is required. So now that I've made it, and I've learned a lot, and I've evolved, and my business is successful, and my children have a different life than I did, now it's time to teach those that need help. There are other women of color that need assistance because we don't have the same access to the information, the resources. And so I wanted to do that. And Oprah, that was her vision as well. And so the goal is to help bridge the gap between the number of business owners who are African American and those who actually reach success. It's only 4% reach the $1 million mark. Up 300%, but only 4% have reached that $1 million mark.
What is the biggest barrier to entry? Like, what is it that...
Resources, funding, knowing the knowledge, having a tutor, having someone, a mentor, someone that can help you in this space. Because think about it, if you have someone in your family that, and you're maybe you're Korean, and your family has a long history of having beauty supply stores, you can turn that on easily. You have the access to the resources you need. And so that's not always the case. Not every African-American person has this challenge, but a lot of us. And so we have to bridge the gap. I have to bridge the gap. And I continue to do so. After the show wrapped, I created Black Girls Making Millions Academy. And that is to help show the women exactly what they need, bring them with those resources together with the resources, the people, the information, the access, the funding. We have banking there. So it's important. I think it's something I'll continue to do while curls is my bread and butter. That is really my life passion.
I could tell in this show you get very involved. With these.
You almost see I treat them like my children. Like I got really wrong, like really rogue with Megan, right? I was so mad at her. I was like, that was the only one I cursed at because I don't even curse in real life. I don't use curse words, but I was so mad at her because I felt like you're representing us wrong. And then Maxie, I felt like she was like almost another Mahisha, and so I was softer with her. And then you could see me be different. Like I was different. I treated each business owner differently.
Yeah, and what you see is that these women have put their heart and soul into these businesses, and they've maybe hit a barrier of some sort. And so what advice you give them for overcoming that anxiety, that fear, those things that can stop you before you even really get started?
Yeah, a lot of us have that. I mean, just not just women of color, people, period. I feel like we almost can self-sabotage because we're afraid of fear of success. Sometimes we are... Isn't that crazy to be afraid of success? But it happens.
Very real.
Very real. And I in my tenure of mentoring people, I haven't ran across that a lot though, because typically women of color, we are so pushed against the wall that we are willing to do whatever it takes. So we're leaping almost before we're ready. I found most of the people that I mentor are leaping before they're ready. They're almost like, can't wait to get going. I'm like, pause. Let's get the foundation in order. Don't launch that till you get everything straight. So I have to kind of reel people back more. But there are people that definitely have a hard time launching. And to them, I say, just do it. Start. take an action every day. And at the end of a quarter, you'll see where you've gone. You've gotten so far along after a quarter. But I always say just start. Start with the research. And then from the research, then start with, maybe doing some R&D. And from the R&D, then do focus groups. And just slowly get yourself going and do your research, and you'll see where you are.
I forget the woman's name, but she ran the popcorn company, and her thing was control.
Yeah.
Yes. And I get that.
Pam.
When you've built something from your heart and soul, and then you get to a point where you want to expand, you have to surrender some of that control.
Yeah.
So how do you help people navigate that? Because I would imagine that to be very hard.
She was in the kitchen making all the backs herself. That was
She was making the popcorn, seasoning the popcorn, packaging the popcorn.
And her partners didn't treat her too well. I got on them really hard too. So yeah, I think delegating is important. Having a team that you trust, that can do the job better than you. That's important. Hire people smarter than you, so they're almost teaching you, and that's how you can delegate. Now, in that case, I feel like she could have just hired some people like to do that, but she didn't. We're making popcorn. So we did get her with a manufacturer to create that. And so that freed up space for her and time to actually market, be the face of the brand, and not doing all the legwork in the back of the kitchen.
Do you have mentors? Do you have people that you can go to?
I do.
How important is that for you?
Very important. My mentor actually has been in industry for a very, very long time, like back Proline days when we had the hair grease days, that long ago. And so I still have to rely on people to give me advice. I have a certain mindset. I'm a very aggressive type A person. Sometimes I have to reel myself back. And so he reminds me of that. Yeah.
And as far as the industry is considered, as I mentioned earlier, it's a billion-dollar industry. We see it's I think just really starting to take off and grow even more. Where do you see the future of the black hair care, natural hair industry? Or is there anything exciting that you're looking forward to? Or, you know what I mean? What can we look forward to?
There's a lot. We're over 50% of women of color actually wear hair adornments. So extensions, weaves, wigs, even if it's just temporarily. And even also women that are not of color, Caucasian, Asian. So I'm looking forward to that market because I actually now have a new business, Exquisite Hair Factory, where we manufacture the hair for women of color and other ethnicities to give them the best quality so you can just shift. If you want more thickness and fullness and more hair, then you can actually just achieve it for the day. Clip-ins, whatever you need. We have every option. So that's my new direction I'm going, because sometimes they're like adornments. That's why I call it an adornment. They are accessories.
I love an adornment.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. It's just
my good friend Shema, she named it, she called it or coined that phrase adornment, but it's an accessory for hair. And I feel like now we're going down that space, clip in and taking care of those clip-ins. So.
And you seem excited. I can see that you're so excited just about expanding.
Yeah, it's always about evolving and seeing what's happening. When I saw that number, 50% of us wear, I'm like, cha-ching. Next.
And that's why you've got curls. We do have a couple questions before we get out of here. Who's got the first one right here?
Hello, how you doing?
Hello.
What inspired you to start your company?
Well, that experience of corporate racism, which shook me to my core. I was a single mother, so I didn't have anyone to fall back on. And this gentleman was going to get rid of me in 6 months. So he put me on a corrective action plan, and that's Intel's way of getting rid of you legally. And so I was 3 months in, and I was just stressing beyond belief. And then that's when it kicked in. I need to figure something else out. But you know what happened? I have to tell the story because this is I hear this a lot. This is super empowering for other people. He wound up leaving. He wound up leaving Intel and went overseas right before my review was going to happen, and I got a new manager. And at the end of that review time, I actually got ranked faster than my peers because he said I was slower then. I got a bonus and stock options. So everything he said was countered with the new person, which I already knew, but it was just, had he stayed, I would have been gone. And it was such a sad situation to see that someone was that close-minded. But that didn't stop me from leaving, because I realized I could have that happen again. I had a great manager who was fair. He was also Caucasian, but he was fair. He ranked me like I should have been. But I found that old manager on Facebook. And I sent him 2-word DM. I said, Google me. He read it and blocked me. He blocked me. Yeah.
You should have just sent him a whole bunch of
products.
products.
You know what's interesting? He has blonde curly hair.
See?
Good idea.
Men can use curls too, even blonde men.
So that's what inspired me. And I was a mother, and I didn't want to have anyone control my financial destiny.
That's empowering. We have one from Twitter. Campaign A Glory. Do you have any advice for going to natural hair after years of bleaching and straightening?
Oh man.
Very common problem.
Glory Bell, can you please DM me? Because I feel like I need to see pictures and I want to sing you through that journey. I'm hoping that you don't have to do a big chop, but you might have to with the bleaching. That's my concern. Can you DM me Mahisha_Dellinger? Yeah.
This is an issue I think a lot of Black women have, though. And you mentioned you go natural, and then you straighten your hair, and then when you want to go back, there is that transition period that is usually kind of tough.
It's tough, and especially if she was bleaching and straightening. I did that, but I wasn't really bleaching. I was dyeing, like lightening a little bit. And the hair can really lose its core quality. I mean, I don't know how bad it is. I'm hoping it's not. But that happens a lot. Like, we fight our texture a lot. You know?
It takes years even to get your texture kind of back.
Yes.
Your
And I'm
curl
hoping
pattern back.
it's not bad, so I can help you. And I'll send you that vitamin to help you grow your hair faster. So DM me, Glory Bell.
Do it. And we have one more.
Peace. With all the success that you've had, you mentioned. Sorry, I gotta stand up. You mentioned all the adversity that you went through in the beginning. Do you still face that, even being a success story?
Absolutely. Believe it or not, most of the people that are in the position to buy our products are not us. So sometimes I face that. I've had some buyers who just did not like me. Despite the sales, they didn't like my brand, and I had to push through and make them like me. Years, which I'm not a patient person. Years. So that happens sometimes, yeah. It's life. It will never go away. Yeah, it's life. You know what? I just take lemons and make the best tasting lemonade money can buy. That's what I do.
You mentioned you have kids and you were able to create a different life for them. So what conversations do you have about them, about your story, and about what they can do one day?
It's funny because I took them to my neighborhood one time. We were in California because we live in Dallas now. They locked the doors. In my neighborhood, I was like, you guys, this is where I grew up. They were so nervous. So I'm glad I changed their lifestyle, but I'm also concerned that they may be a little too soft. I mean, that's real. So we make them do public service. It's important for them to give back and to see what life could be like. And I remind them all the time it's so important. But one of my kids is looking to take over. Yeah, the business. My baby said, she's 9. I'm sorry, I can't say baby. She'll get mad at me. My youngest daughter said, Mommy, I think I want to do your job when I get older. And that was her way of saying taking over the business. She rocks her curly hair, girl. Now she wears it down to school. She's like, look at me. She's all about the curly hair. So she's going to be the one. My oldest works for me, the one that when I worked for Intel that was almost going to get fired. She was 4 at the time. She's now 24. And so she works for me. She's gotten fired like 3 times, but she's back.
She'll figure it out.
Yeah, she's doing good right now. We'll see.
Those early 20s are rough for all of us, you
But she's gotten better, though. Yeah.
It's progress. Well, I feel like she has a really good mentor to look up to and to learn from.
And she's actually become a phenomenal woman. She's shifted to now thanking me, which we used to like butt heads, and now she's coming into her own. Yeah.
I love seeing that, and it's been so great chatting with you. Like I said, I've seen your product for years, and I just always wondered, what was the story behind the product and the woman, and it is so inspiring, and I love that you're sharing that message with the future generation. So I appreciate it. I can't wait to see future collections, and just keep in touch.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes.
This was fun.
Yes, it was super fun. You guys can check out more and get more information at www.curls.biz. Put your hands together for Mahisha Dellinger.
Thank you.